If you're running cold email campaigns or you're planning to launch one in the future, I'm sure you already know that a high quality lead list is absolutely crucial. Without the right leads and without verified contact information, it's all worthless. And in today's video, I'm going to show you everything that you need to know to build a high quality lead list with verified contact information. If you don't know me, my name is Jovan and I've helped over 300 agencies book thousands of sales calls using AI and cold email. And I also used AI and cold email to scale my own software development agency Codeful, and I've also built an all-in-one AI cold email platform called Prospi. I'm sure you already know this, but let's just quickly explain why lead quality matters for cold email success. Now, without the right audience, even the best emails don't work. You can have perfect copy, you can have a rock-solid infrastructure, but if you're reaching out to wrong people or to invalid email addresses, it doesn't really matter. And if you imagine you're sending a perfectly crafted email to a list of people who don't need your service, it would fall flat. And on the other hand, sending that same email to qualified leads greatly increases your chances of getting replies and booking calls and ultimately closing more deals. So high quality lead list ensures that you're reaching out to right people at the right time. Now, the difference between a good list and a bad list is even bigger than that, because a good list is targeted, relevant, and accurate. It contains prospects who fit your ideal customer profile or ICP and valid email addresses that actually land in their inboxes. And a bad list, on the other hand, is usually outdated, generic, and unverified. It often contains irrelevant prospects or invalid emails that usually bounce, which harms your deliverability and wastes effort. In short, a good list is a foundation for a great campaign, and a bad list can ruin it and ruin your reputation in the long run. Now, we also need to understand the risks of using a poor lead list, because poor lead list quality actually impacts deliverability and response rates. I'll give you a couple of examples. With a poor lead list, you're going to have a high bounce rate that hurt your sender reputation. You can risk your email account reputation and domain reputation, and increases your chances of your emails going to spam folder instead of primary inbox. It can also mean that you're reaching out to recipients who find your emails uninteresting and boring and not relevant, so they usually ignore or delete your emails, which are usually huge red flags when it comes to spam checkers and so on. So if a lot of people delete your emails, mark them as spam and so on, Google, Outlook, and other providers will also believe that you're a spammer, so all your future emails will start landing in spam. And finally, spam complaints themselves. Again, if you're reaching out to people who don't find your offers and your emails relevant and useful, a lot of them will mark you as a spammer, which is another huge red flag. So a high quality lead list improves deliverability, engagement, and response rates, ensuring your campaign has the highest impact you're actually aiming for. Now, there's a couple of key elements of a high quality lead list, and we're going to cover them in the next couple of minutes. The first one is relevance, targeting the right audience. And the first rule of building a high quality lead list is actually relevance. Your lead list should match your ideal customer profile or ICP. For example, if you're selling B2B software to marketing teams, then you should target marketing managers, CMOs, marketing directors, and so on. And if you offer HR consulting, for example, then you need to reach out to HR directors, operation managers, and so on. So you can't mix the two. Based on what your service does and what your offer is, based on those criteria, you actually find your ICP. One of the easiest way to define your ICP is to look at your previous customers, case studies, and portfolio, and find the type of people and companies that you enjoy working with the most and that are the most profitable for your specific business. Now, the more relevant your leads are, the higher chances of booking meetings and converting them into paying customers. The next key factor is accuracy. You need to make sure that all the emails are valid and up to date. Now, we're going to discuss this in a second and how you can make this happen, but a great lead list must contain accurate and up-to-date contact details. Without that, it's all worthless. Outdated information leads to bounced emails, which ultimately lowers your deliverability rates. You need to make sure that emails are active and verified, and the contacts still hold the same job titles and work at the same companies listed on your lead sheet. And finally, you need to do proper segmentation. You can't reach out to everyone with the same message. Your lead list needs to be segmented based on different criteria like industry, role or department, geographic region, and so on, and you adjust and personalize your messages based on that criteria. Now, let me break down all these three categories and explain what you need to do to have them all properly set up. So the first one is ideal customer profile, which we already explained is the type of customer that would benefit the most from your product or your service. When it comes to company filters or criteria, there's a couple of most important ones. The first one is industry, whether you're reaching out to financial companies, marketing agencies, maybe healthcare companies, and so on. The second one is company size. You can't send the same message and target the same people in a small company and a huge corporation. With small companies, you can reach out to the founder or CEO directly. Within the huge corporation, the chances of getting a reply back from a CEO for your offer are very, very small. You should most likely reach out to managers, directors, and so on. And finally, location. Depending on your service, your target audience, and so on, you may want to test different locations, whether your offer is national, global, local, and so on. Now, once you define the companies you want to work with, you need specific people. You can send cold emails to generic company emails like info@company domain. You need to reach out to specific people within those companies, and you need to define who exactly you want to reach out to. Now, again, based on your service or your offer, you want to reach out to specific job titles within those companies. So there's a couple of things here. We have job titles and departments. You need to understand who are their key players, which is exactly why you need to research your ICP before even crafting your offer. The next one is seniority level. And finally, pain points. What are the exact pain points and struggles these people from these companies from your ICP are struggling with? What exactly can you help them with? And finally, once you define the companies you want to work with and the people within those companies, you need to align that with your specific offer. So if your service targets CMOs, your list should only include individuals with marketing roles. Your entire offer and the messaging has to be aligned with your ICP. And ultimately, when you think about it, cold email is just putting the right message in front of the right people, but the combination of the message and the people have to be aligned. So you can't just use the same messaging for every single ICP or every single person on the world. You need to make sure that those two are actually aligned. And later on, when you want to test or iterate on your cold email campaigns, test different offers and so on, what you're essentially testing is the right message target combination. So for one ICP, you can craft 4 different offers. You can test then new ICPs with 4 new different offers and so on. And within a couple of months, you'll most likely know immediately which offers resonate the best with which ICPs. Now, let me show you how you actually build a lead list. I'll use our software Prospi as an example, but you can use any B2B database online. This is usually what it looks like. So we have a lead finder functionality where you can enter different filters. For example, job titles you want to include, exclude, company size, location, industry, some keywords as well, technology, hiring, and so on. So again, going back to your ICP, once you define that, you should have a clear picture of the exact company sizes you want to target, job titles, and so on. So you just enter those into your B2B lead database search filters. You should get a list similar to this one as a result. So as I said, you enter a couple of different filters, and once you have the list ready, what you want to do is you want to check a couple of leads to ensure they are the right fit. So Different B2B databases structure their information and lead data in different ways, different formats. So you always want to check by opening up a couple of leads websites, their LinkedIn pages, to make sure they actually fit the criteria you want to reach out to. The next step in our case would be just saving the list. You can select how many people based on your outreach volume and so on. With different databases, there are different rules. Some of them allow you to export leads, some of them don't. But yeah, depending on the B2B database that you use, you have different options. For example, with Apollo, you can't really export leads directly. You need to use a different service for exporting leads. On LinkedIn Sales Navigator, it's a similar situation where you can reach out to those people on LinkedIn, but if you want to launch cold email campaign instead, you need to find a different service to export those leads from LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Now, once you have the lead list ready, that's not the end of the lead list building process. You only have lead details and other information about their companies and their personal LinkedIn profiles, for example, but the email that you get from a B2B lead database is almost always not valid. I'll give you an example. If you export leads from Apollo and you have all the emails available, around 40% of those emails are actually not valid, which is why you need to have a proper email enrichment process in place. I'll give you an example. Inside of our platform, what we did is you can essentially run waterfall enrichment by clicking Find Emails, and I can explain what this means in detail. For example, we work with more than 10 different data providers for contact information like email, and we run waterfall enrichment. What that means is we ask one provider to find the email for each lead on the list. They return the email, and then we use email verification system to make sure they actually gave us the valid email. If the email is valid, we just save it and go to the next lead. If it's risky, we use a separate service called catch-all verification. It's a completely different service for verifying risky emails, which again let us know if the email is valid or invalid. If the email is invalid, both with regular verification or catch-all verification, what we do is we go to the next provider and ask them for email verification. You see how you can chain all these providers into a huge process called email waterfall enrichment, which is exactly what we do. Now, I personally automated this process within the platform, so you can just click Find Emails. But if you want to use different B2B databases and so on, this is the process that you need to have in place. You chain all these email providers and you have 2 layers of verification after you get contact information from each of these providers. Now, this may seem like a complex process because you need all these different tools and softwares and so on, but this is high priority when you build your lead list. If you don't do this, there's a couple of things that can happen. The first thing is if you only use valid emails, you're left out with less than 50% of the entire list because you haven't even verified the catch-all or risky emails. And worst case, if you don't verify the emails at all, what's going to happen is you're going to have high bounce rates, in some cases even 20 or 30%, which means that your deliverability will be crushed within a couple of days. So ultimately, when you think about it, if you're sending emails for a couple of days and then you need to rebuild your entire infrastructure, domains, email accounts, warm-up process and everything, every couple of days or couple of weeks, it quickly becomes a very annoying process. So in my opinion, having a waterfall enrichment with 2 layers of verification is definitely worth it. That's pretty much the entire process. And lastly, I'm going to show you a couple of most common mistakes that people do when they build lead lists and when they want to scale their cold email outreach. First mistake is they buy generic email lists. There's a lot of providers and services online where you can just purchase the entire list. It has all the emails and everything. But the problem is keeping all these emails verified at all times is very expensive, and almost no B2B lead databases actually do it. Some of them do it once per month. Some of them do it once per quarter. But ensuring that every single email on the list is always up to date is a very expensive process, and none of them actually want to do it. So if you just purchase the list online, most likely a lot of these emails are outdated or irrelevant, which again means that you'll have high bounce rate and you'll ruin your deliverability within a couple of days or a couple of weeks. The second mistake is ignoring segmentation. People just build the list of every single person on the world and then wonder why their cold email campaigns are not performing. So what you want to do instead is, based on your ICP, segment the lead list, build a couple of lists of, let's say, 3, 5, 7,000 leads in each list, and then focus on those ICPs. Adjust the messaging and personalize the messaging based on the ICP criteria that you used when you created this list. So mistake number 2, ignoring segmentation. Mistake number 3, as I said, is sending emails to unverified contacts. Even if your email provider or lead provider is telling you that it's 100% valid, trust me, it's not. They're just trying to save money, because email verification is an expensive process when you have millions of leads in your database. So after exporting the lead list, you need to make sure you've done both regular verification and catch-all verification. And final mistake is not updating your lead list regularly. Just because you built a lead list once and verified all the emails, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the information on your list will still be valid in 3 months, 6 months, or a year. I see a lot of people build a list once and then try to reuse the same list in 9 months. And guess what? A lot of the information is outdated because people close their companies, they change jobs, they change email addresses. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you verify all the emails before sending your cold email campaigns. And don't get me wrong, you can reuse the same list. For example, we use the same list every 3 or 4 months, but every time we plan to use it, we again perform the entire list verification and email verification on the entire list. So to sum it up, you need to define your ICP, the companies you want to work with, the people or exact job titles within those companies. You can use any B2B lead database online, you can export the leads and so on, but you need to verify the emails even after exporting the list. So that's all for this video. I hope you find it useful, and if you want to learn more about cold email campaigns and using AI in your outreach, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, because I'll be posting videos like this every single week.